Okay, welcome back, everyone. Everyone seems to be, with the exception of myself, seems to be virtual today. But these are the days that we are in. Challenges and issues faced by the arts, culture, heritage, and sports sectors during COVID-19 pandemic witnesses today. Pursuant to Standing Order 1082, we move the motion on October 23rd, 2020. The committee resumes its study on the challenges and issues faced by the sector. So we have, as you know, 2 hours today. We have one full panel, and we have a second panel coming in an hour from now. And again, I'd like to remind our witnesses, you have up to 5 minutes to begin. Following that, of course, questions and answers from our MPs, respective of the parties and the time allotment. But we'll get to that in just a few moments. I just want to introduce the people that we have here today. Association québécoise de l'industrie de disques, du spectacle et de la vidéo. We have Solange Drouin, Vice President and Executive Director, Public Affairs. I apologize, translation. I'll try to slow down just a tad. From Drayton Entertainment, Alex Mustakis, Artistic Director and Chief Executive Officer, and from Music Canada, Patrick Rogers, Vice President of Corporate Affairs. Good to see you all. So, we're going to start out with our 5 minutes for an introduction and an opening speech. I will be somewhat lenient, but these hours can close very quickly, as many of you would know. So, Solange Drouin from l'Association, I'd like to welcome you first pour 5 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
5 minutes, please. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting us to appear before you today. Before I get to the heart of the matter and talk about the pandemic, I'd like to very quickly talk about our industry. This sector is very dominated by Universal, Warner, and other multinationals. There are 3 big ones very present in Canada that distribute the musical content of artists and develop the careers of Canadian artists, which could have international scope like Great The Weekend that you're aware of. These three corporations are pretty absent for French content and other languages in Quebec. These Francophone Canadian artists are almost all associated to independent companies that develop their careers here at home, and some of them internationally. And it goes without saying that the size of this industry is nothing compared to the multinationals. You need to keep this vision in mind when you assess the impacts of the pandemic in our sector. All companies have suffered from the pandemic, quite obviously, but the independent businesses do not have the same resources to deal with these challenges compared to multinationals. You need to also take into account, for our sector, that revenue for all of the chain for supplying music comes principally from 3 sources. So recorded music, that from shows, as well as the rights to composition. And as to sales for recordings, since 2005, revenue has diminished compared to streaming. So there's a problem there which the pandemic has exacerbated. The pandemic has also had a catastrophic effect on the ticket sales for shows. Revenue from that activity represents today close to 50% of total revenue for businesses, and the sector has been entirely deprived of that revenue for several months. And those losses have been devastating for the entire chain because expenditures are composed more than 75% by the workforce, the artists, the musicians, the technicians, and so forth. Finally, other revenue from, say, music that is broadcast on radio have also suffered enormous losses and will continue to suffer these. In radio, there's a certain percentage received through copyright, and this is as a percentage, and revenue is dropped. So revenue for artists stemming from these copyright is diminished as well. So the situation is bleak. And the reaction of the sector to the pandemic has been inspiring nevertheless. In spite of the enormous impacts, the industry has continued relentlessly to try, and the ties between artists and public remains alive. Ever since confinement, numerous albums have been marketed, and only in Quebec also. Shows, be they virtual, on balconies, in parks, as video clip productions have continued. Independent Canadian businesses that support artists have also remained open and active, and all this is possible due to additional support from the federal government in Quebec. And we've underscored this previously. We'll do so again today. Thank you for this essential support. These emergency funds provide us with some predictability until March 31st, 2021. But beyond that date, future prospects become vague and uncertain. Broad consultations done with our members show deep concern that 2021 be even worse than 2020. Added to that is that, teams are running out of support. So the situation is fragile, and the pandemic has made things worse, and making it very difficult to produce and market and also organize shows for artists. In coming months, we need to have a revival plan, and this for as long as is necessary for the Francophone music sector to be able to continue to make a quality musical offering available to the Canadian public. And to achieve that, financial investments will be necessary. In addition, the pandemic has exacerbated the urgency to revise the Broadcasting Act. This needs to be done. C-10, which is now before the Parliament, which establishes a framework for online businesses, many foreign, and will ultimately submit them to regulation. And this legislation needs to be completed before the next elections. We cannot miss that historic boat. Also, we need to continue to help artists with copyright compensation. They have the private regime that has been very fruitful for many years. Madame, well, thank you for listening to me, and I'm very open to answering any of your questions. Thank you.
For 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee members, for allowing me a few minutes to crawl back in from the window ledge to appear before you today. Just a little bit of background. Drayton Entertainment is an award-winning charitable arts organization that produces professional live theatre as a circuit of 7 venues throughout Ontario: the Hamilton Family Theatre, Cambridge, St. Jacob's Country Playhouse and Schoolhouse Theatre, Kitchener-Conestoga, Drayton Festival Theatre, Perth, Wellington, 2 stages of the Huron Country Playhouse in Grand Bend, that's in Huron, Bruce, and the Kings Wharf Theatre in Penetangmashine, that's Simcoe North. We also have a centralized production facility and recently announced Youth Academy in Waterloo. What began as a relatively community-based volunteer arts organization back in 1991, a grassroots movement 30 years ago in the tiny village of Drayton, Ontario, has become one of the great success stories of Canadian theatre. Back then, 1 employee, a legion of volunteers, a 9-week season, paid attendance of 14,000 with a modest budget of $99,000. Fast forward to the 2020 season, the pandemic season, a season that would have consisted of 832 performances throughout the province, to a paid attendance of over 275,000 with a $12.5 million budget and an estimated economic impact exceeding $65 million. Drayton Entertainment now provides over 400 employment contracts to actors, musicians, designers, and other creatives, making us one of the largest employers of professional artists in the country. Additionally, we employ upwards of 175 staff and an active network of 550 volunteers, contributing over 30,000 hours annually. Now, this remarkable thing that I would like to note is that since our inception, and because I've been here since the inception, and some of my staff would say it's too long. We have received 0 operating funds from any level of government or Arts Council. Of course, we have benefited from the occasional federal investment in capital infrastructure upgrades or expansions, resulting in substantial return on investment. The pandemic has impacted us in many theaters in 3 noteworthy ways. Firstly, the loss of all programming has caused significant hardships, not only on us, but also on our municipality, tourism, hospitality sector partners who rely on us as a major driver of regional economies. Secondly, what we do is communal by nature, and this makes recovery a daunting prospect for any business. Thirdly, despite the lifeline of the emergency wage support and emergency response benefit, with no revenues to cover our fixed operating costs, we've been forced to terminate all artist contracts and lay off the majority of our staff. It pains us to be in this position, of course, and along with our industry colleagues, we've mitigated financial losses, reduced overhead, and minimized expenses through every possible means. Now, as we continue to navigate these challenges, we've identified 4 support recommendations to the Standing Committee. I will start with number 1, and that is a fair and transparent application process to access government funds. Criteria should be expanded for any current or future aid programs to include eligibility for those organizations which do not already benefit from annual operating funds from many various tiers of government. In short, arts organizations like ours should not be overlooked for not being a client of these entities and the subsidies or grants they provide. Earlier this year, the government announced $55 million was allocated to the Canada Council for the Arts, which opted to disperse just to its current clients. There was no opportunity for the rest of us to apply and make a compelling business case for support. A second recommendation we would have is to top up the wage support. We would respectfully recommend the emergency wage subsidy restore the maximum 85% rate for the hardest hit sectors. This will allow us the flexibility we need to bring back workers to position our recovery. Even with the current wage subsidy program, which we're very grateful for, many arts organizations are operating with little to no revenue, unable to sustain the top-up wages or benefits required to retain our teams. Number 3, mitigating fixed costs. Restrictive measures such as operating to a maximum of 50 audience members has the same net effect as a complete shutdown for us. With the new emergency rent subsidy program, there is concern that arts organizations may only qualify for the additional 25% top-up support in the event of a total lockdown, and that's determined by regional health authorities. Expanding this eligibility criteria would greatly benefit a sector whose venues have been largely sitting empty since March. And our fourth recommendation, my personal favorite, if I was king of the world, I would create an arts recovery incentive fund. As we look to the future, a matching dollar arts recovery incentive fund, similar to the ministry's very successful Arts Endowment Incentives Program, will enable arts organizations to tap into the philanthropy of our audiences, knowing their gifts will be matched by the Government of Canada. I just believe all stakeholders would feel they have so-called skin in the game when it comes to recovery. And in closing, Mr. Chair, on a personal note, other than our industry's staggering financial losses, the mental health of our members is of utmost importance. Like the professional musician I spoke to recently with tears in his eyes saying, being a musician is all I've ever done in my life. Or the actress who has the weight of the world on her shoulder who said, I've trained for this all my life. Now I'm wondering whether it's time to leave the business. We need the creative sector. COVID-19 has been devastating to our emotional well-being. Charlie Chaplin once said, I like to walk in the rain so that no one can see my tears. I hope you can see us through the rain right now because we can certainly use your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Moustakis, and that's quite a powerful ending. Thank you very much. Now we go to Music Canada. Patrick Rogers. Patrick, it's good to see you again. Best to you and your family, of course. And Mr. Rogers, you're no stranger to how things work around here, so you probably know as much as anybody on this call. So I'll just let you have your 5 minutes, sir, and go ahead. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Patrick Rogers, and I am the interim co-CEO of Music Canada. I'd like to thank the committee for the opportunity to speak today. Music Canada is the trade association to Canada's major record labels. Sony Music Entertainment Canada, Universal Music Canada, and Warner Music Canada. Normally, our work focuses on promoting and protecting the value of music, which helps artists and businesses who support them and thrive and contribute to our economy and culture. But in March, when the Canadian music industry was forced to cancel the Junos the same week as North American sports were shut down, and as Canadians stopped gathering in large numbers, our members directed us to focus our efforts and resources on helping the most vulnerable individuals in our industry: artists, crews, and everyone working in the live music space. The livelihoods of these individuals were among the first to be hit by the pandemic and will be among the last to recover. To help ensure that governments at all levels had accurate information to understand the pandemic's impacts and to develop effective relief measures, we partnered with Abacus Data to conduct national polling about how the pandemic was affecting artists and our fans. One study surveyed over 700 professional musicians, so we could better understand the impacts through their lens. Here are some important numbers. The report found that professional musicians perform on average nearly 100 times a year, typically traveling across Canada and the world to do so. Revenue generated from live performances in turn helps support an average of 11 other people, such as band members, technicians, and other industry jobs. And a staggering 85% of musicians agreed that without live performances, they will have difficulty earning enough to pay the bill. But the most important number is zero. 0 live shows, 0 festivals, 0 gigs as artists, fans, and the industry have understood them for generations. With this in mind, we've spent the pandemic amplifying the voices of artists in settings like this and assisting colleagues and organizations like Aaron Benjamin of the Canadian Live Music Association as they work to highlight the difficulties being faced by venues and the artists who play in them. In addition to surveying artists, we also commissioned a separate national survey of Canadians, with a first round released in May and an update in August. Those results were similarly startling. They underscored that the virus will keep Canadians, including identified music lovers, home long after they're allowed to attend events. About 1 in 2 of those live music lovers believes that it will be 6 months or more after government restrictions lift before they feel safe returning to live shows at festivals, small and large indoor venues, and elsewhere. And as time progresses, that concern has risen significantly. But our research also confirmed something that we knew to be true. Canadians miss live music. While watching a concert online might scratch the itch, it's no substitute to the feeling you get at being at a live show. Canadians love live music, and they have told us that they desperately want to go back when they believe it's safe to do so. We know that live music will eventually return with the same energy and significance that it previously had, but government support is critical to ensure that it exists when we come out the other side. How do we get to the other side? Artists and individuals working in our sector need to receive continued and direct financial support like the Canada Recovery Benefit for as long as live music venues are regulated, closed, or only partially open across the country. These funds will be needed for longer than many expect. And as we are witnessing now, the need will increase if the public health situation worsens. Lastly, Music Canada and our industry colleagues came to this committee last year to discuss the need for copyright reform. Virtually the entire Canadian music industry asked that a few simple amendments be made to the Copyright Act to help ensure that artists are paid when their music is played. The report from this committee, Shifting Paradigms, provides a great roadmap to upholding that principle. I hope that this committee and the government will return to that work soon, because with the pandemic eliminating opportunities to tour for artists, the fallacy that artists don't need copyright protection has been exposed for the myth that it always was. I'd like to thank the Parliamentary Secretary for her continued championing of this principle, both during the writing of the report and now in your new role. And I hope that as you turn your minds to assisting the music community in the face of the pandemic, you will again recommend addressing those copyright measures, which will help bring relief. Thank you for your time today. Be pleased to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Canada loves live. Indeed, we do. Valid point. So, folks, now we're getting into the questions, and I just want to say to our witnesses, if you want to get in on the conversation that's happening, you have to get the attention of the person asking the question. You can do that by waving at the screen. Hopefully the questioner will pick that up. So I ask that the questioners please have a look at your gallery view to find out who wants to weigh in. This is the first time in my life I've ever chaired or been involved in a committee meeting where I'm the only member in the room. I'm not sure if I'm lonely or intoxicated with power. I'll figure that out hopefully by the end of the meeting. Nevertheless, let's try to do this as quickly and smoothly as we can because it's a very important issue. Mr. Shields, for 6 minutes, please. You're on mute, sir.
There we go. I was just wowed by your power that you have. I thought you could have done anything without that power. Anyways,
Nice.
glad to see you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for our witnesses being here today and appreciated your comments. I would like to go to Drayton in the sense of start with, you listed 5 different things that you thought would help. Could you prioritize them in any given way? And then with a bottom line, what amount of money would it take to get you out of what you've spent, what you're in debt, and ready to be going next time? So could you give any priority to those 5 solutions?
Thank you. I would suggest that the wage subsidy would be a top of the list, and mitigating costs would be second, and the incentive fund, of course, would help us in recovery, and that is moving forward and raising money for recovery and for growth and generational change that we would like to do. For us, as a relatively, I guess we're a modest-sized arts organization in this country. We had our 2020 losses will be close to $3 million, and next year, moving into 2021, if there is no programming, just the fixed costs alone, with just a very small core staff left, it will be over $1 million in losses. One of the problems in 2020 was because of our collective bargaining agreements with actors unions and advanced royalties and creatives and so on. There were a number of buyouts that cost us nearly $1.5 million, which we won't have next year, obviously, because we have not contracted anyone. But we're looking at least $1 million loss next year without even putting a key in any of our theater doors.
Right. So when you give those numbers and you talk about the wage subsidy being critical to moving forward, how are you going to recover out of that deficit place you're at? You're saying you weren't allowed to qualify for the $55 million as a piece of cash. How are you going to get out of that hole?
Well, I think we need our staff to mobilize. We need an opportunity to raise money from our stakeholders, and all we can do is wait till it's safe to go back into a crowded auditorium, because there are surveys being done throughout North America that are saying even when it's safe to do so, there's a 40% chance that some people will not be back right away. So it is going to take some time. We need a staff to help us raise money and have campaigns to ramp up for future performances and so on.
So a cash infusion could be a piece of what's going to make you be able to survive?
Certainly. I mean, what I fear is that if this is prolonged, we're fortunate. When I started the theater company 30 years ago, we created a small stabilization fund that we put money into every year, and we've been living off that for the past few months. And also, we had a number of our patrons who had bought tickets in advance that left credits for us. So we're using the cash from those credits as well, which will be a problem down the road when we do recover and they want to purchase tickets and want to use their credits. But I mean, that's a situation we're in. We just unfortunately, if we had not had that stabilization fund, everything we've worked for 30 years and all the help, all the grassroots that have helped us would have been gone in 3 months. We wouldn't be able to survive.
And that's going to be a critical point when you talk about the recovery piece. in the sense of if we do have that lag in attendance, that's going to be a problem at the other end.
Correct. We've done the best we can. Creative people are very good at, the art sector is very good at doing business with limited resources. And so we have mitigated as many losses as possible. We've kept operating costs as low as we can. And it's just unfortunately, the fixed costs. We're personally a victim of our own success. We have 7 venues across the province. Without putting a key in any of those doors, just the fixed cost without salaries is about over $800,000. So we need to survive through this, and any of our suggestions will definitely help.
The one last thing, and you meant, and that's probably the one behind, that's the mental illness that probably people don't see, the mental health of the artists and what we may lose just to that in itself. Any thoughts of how that could be dealt with?
Well, we need help. We need resources, to be honest. We tried to do a short web series, and we brought in some singers individually. And I have to tell you, for them, it was an hour of normality, but I witnessed a sadness. I witnessed a weight on shoulders. I witnessed physical changes on these people that have not been able to get on stage and perform, and it's been months and months. So I certainly would recommend, as the number 5, that there is support for artists when it comes to mental health.
Okay, thank you, folks. Sorry, Mr.
Thank
Shields.
you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, panelists, for being here. This is a very emotional testimony from everyone, and it hits very hard. I would follow up where Mr. Shields left off, because that's too important to pass up the opportunity. When you, Mr. Moustakis, you described an artist saying, being a musician is all I've done for my entire life. And I think that resonated with me, because until a year ago, that I would say the exact same thing. And theater is a big part of Kitchener-Conestoga. So we all know that great art comes from struggle, but we haven't seen struggle at this level, at this depth. And so I wanted to speak more about mental health, because I know that these artists and the people around them, it's not just the artists, it's all of the workers that are on and behind the stage. Those programs that we're talking about can help people get through. And I'm also concerned about our younger artists that are just trying to get into the arts. Is there any kind of way that we can pair the two that you're talking about, supporting artists to help with the younger generation, and see if we can help them get in, and that way they're helping their own peers?
Well, we certainly need the support. We have a very successful youth program over the years that we're expanding, because we believe this is an area where we will be most effective on generational change. And I know a lot of young people that are in acting schools and musical theater programs and studying music and so on. And I'm worried that they won't have a place for an outlet when they're done. So any support we can get for them, I think, is critical. We miss our musicians. There's nothing like live music. And the other thing I should mention, not only the artists and the young people, but we've received just recently over 600 comments from our theater goers. Many for us are an older demographic who miss what we do, who tell us what a big part of their lives live theater has been, and live music. So we have to think about all of them as well. And as soon as it's safe to do so, we will be back. And you're absolutely right, Mr. Lewis. The great things come from struggle from the bottom up, and that's when community comes together. And you can see the poster above my shoulder on Les Miserables. You want to talk about struggle, but we do need to not forget the grassroots, who are our future as well.
Well, and I appreciate that. And it's not, like you say, it's not just the people on stage, it's the people that's supporting them, the whole industry in general. And again, I've been to countless shows at well, through Drayton Theater and in St. Jacobs and other theaters, and we talk about the experience when people go. Maybe you can just elaborate briefly on, it's not just someone coming to the theater, about the restaurants and the shops and what they're adding to the economy. You mentioned a $12 million budget getting stretched to about $60 million impact just in our region alone. So maybe you can expand on that, how important that is.
Absolutely. I've always believed that what an audience member sees on stage is the icing on the cake. We believe in the entire experience from the moment you think about going to the theater, and when we partner with restaurants and other attractions, and the hospitality industry that's obviously been hit hard. We partner with our tourism organizations as well, and they obviously have been hit hard as well. So we look at this as a full experience, and we absolutely know any location we've ever gone into has had an immediate economic impact to the restaurants and hotels and other attractions. So we can't forget that side of what the arts and the music industry do. Just like sports, of course, it's really critical to all the other sectors as well.
Well, and I appreciate you bringing some recommendations, because here on this committee we are all focused on helping and supporting, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some solutions. So I wondered if you could elaborate on the Arts Incentive Recovery Fund, what you had in mind, because so many people for your organization and many others, you have a loyal fan base. You have people who, like you said, are missing the theater and want to be there and want to help out. And if you ask them to step up financially, many of them, if they're in a possibility to do so, would step up and help out. So how can you see something like that working?
Well, it's the incentive portion of this. We know it works when you can say to someone, if you donate $100, it will be matched by another person, another organization, the government. I mean, if we could convince the federal government and the provincial governments all to participate, that $1 would turn into $3. I just feel those are the individuals, those are the stakeholders that want recovery and that are willing to help. And it is an incentive. I'll give you a personal example. A few months ago, I held a board meeting here with volunteer board members, and I made an announcement. I said I will match up to $25,000 to encourage them all to help. And the first board member walked by me and said, "I'll match the whole thing." It was tough on me, but it worked. So that's the kind of incentive that there is, and it's worked very well at the Arts Endowment Incentives program to create endowments that we can't touch the principal. It's just the yearly payout. But in this particular case, it would just bring everyone together as a grassroots movement, including we partner with government and individuals and business and municipalities.
Okay, thank you, folks. Together. Sorry, Mr. Mustakis, I thoroughly enjoy what you were saying, but the clock tells me I have to say otherwise. Monsieur Champoux, pour 6 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
Mr. Champoux, 6 minutes. Thank you very much, Chair, and my turn to thank witnesses for coming today. Thanks for helping us understand the impacts of the pandemic on the cultural sector. I would like to ask my questions. To begin with, addressed to Madame Drouin. Madame Drouin, you painted the picture of the situation for the industry. From a disc's vantage point, we know that the industry is in a crisis. It's the purpose of the committee's studies. Now, in your opinion, if nothing is done quickly, early in 21, let's say no supplementary funding in addition to what's been pledged, and no serious review of C10, the amendments to the Broadcasting Acts, what would be the results of inaction, in your opinion? I've noted that what I forgot to say at the outset is that a disc What is it? I didn't spell it out. It is the association that represents independent producers in Quebec and in French-speaking Canada. So that much corrected. If nothing is done, it's obvious that the entire sector, when I say the entire sector, what I mean the authors, the artists, the musicians, absolutely everyone who have continued to work. They've remained active because they tried so hard to stay in contact with their fans. But if nothing's done, that work, which we continue to do for a certain amount of time, might not be able to continue, and we risk losing everything we've accomplished in the last 40 years. What have we accomplished in 40 years? A star system of artists who are loved by the public and the companies that help them become who they've become. That's precious. We're talking about the artists, but and the artists themselves will tell you, if they were to come and appear before you, that artists have the most success when they're supported by the businesses. And we have sound Canadian businesses that develop these artists, accompany them. We've got managers. We've got a whole range of different trades that support an artist's career. So it's not just the artistic careers that we may lose, but it's all of the infrastructure that supports artists and that has been there to welcome new artists as well and to help develop those new artists' careers so that tomorrow we won't be listening only to our best, our rock classics, but we will have, access to new music, new artists, so that once again we'll become nostalgic to listen to our oldies of some 10, 20 years ago. But right now, these songs need to continue to be written. They need to continue to be broadcast in all of the territory of Quebec, Canada. If artists are not helped, and if the businesses are not supported, we will lose it all. In 2020, we witnessed artists, and a witness spoke to this earlier, demonstrate a great deal of creativity. They managed to do so much with the little they have. Do you think there'll be anything positive left as to the way artists reorganize themselves to disseminate their art? Well, yes, there will be something left over. Similar to, working from home, telework, or Zoom meetings. Maybe we will keep certain things after this pandemic. So virtual performances, yes, no doubt there will be some. But I think all of the witnesses here today that nothing will ever replace live performances. Live performances takes up a big space in the cultural domain, and we would like that to become the engine of our industry. Yes, technologically speaking, in terms of perhaps even improving the offer for showcasing, maybe for making enhancements there, we will see something left over. But there's nothing like live performances. A few seconds left. Do you have any hopes, any specific expectations regarding the economic update for next Monday for the cultural sector? Do you have any hopes? Yes, we always have hope. And already, during the pre-budget consultations, we have filed our demands, and we want in the budget updates certain funds, and if we don't get them, we'll continue and get them at the next budget. Thank you.
Mr. Aitchison, 5 minutes, please.
Oh. that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it me?
Ms.
or is it
McPherson.
Actually,
No, Ms. McPherson. First of all, I want to apologize because I went way ahead on my schedule. So we're back to you. Please forgive me. As now I see, this is the part of my solitude here. I lose my mind in the process. Very well, Ms. McPherson, for 6 minutes. Feel free to take what you wish.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It's nice to be acknowledged, of course. Well, I'd like to as well take a moment to thank all of the witnesses for coming and for sharing your stories. It is really a desperate situation, and then I recognize the position that you're all in. Even for myself, I was flying to Ottawa to be in the House this week and sat beside a musician on the plane, actually, who has left the industry because he is a young musician and he couldn't make his ends meet. He couldn't stay in the sector, and he said that this is something that he's heard across the board over the last 8 months, and devastating, really devastating to see things like that happen. So I'm going to follow up a little bit on Mr. Lewis's intervention and perhaps I'll ask Ms. Drouin to start, but perhaps to talk a little bit about what we can do to encourage young artists to remain, how we can support that. She could maybe also touch on the fact, I don't know if you know, Mr. Drouin, but the New Democrat Party has been pushing for a guaranteed livable income. And if you could touch on whether or not you think that might be an opportunity that would be useful for the artistic community.
Thank you for your question. For sure, I guess it's very important in our music industry. We deal with author, the musician, the interpreters, the companies. So I guess it's very important that each group has access to specific money for them. And so I guess it's very important through Conseil des Arts du Canada or through another program that the artist has access to some money to be better at what they're doing as an artist. I guess each group should have access to that kind of money. But at the same time, I guess the best way to make sure that we make a living out of our music is to work, to have an album, to promote it, and after that to make concerts, to do shows, because the money going in in the live industry, as I said in my presentation, 75% of the live sector goes back to the artists, the musicians, the technicians, and so the best way to make sure that people make a living is that they work and that we promote, and they have the essential means to promote them, to promote the concert, and to have access to the public, the Canadian public, wherever it is in Canada. So for sure, some direct access for the artists and the authors and the other groups, but at the same time, we need to have access to promote the activities and the companies that they're which are working with them.
Yeah, thank you very much. And maybe you could also comment a little bit just in terms of how venues, the shutdown of venues has had that deep impact, and what that's looked like for those venues. I know in my riding of Edmonton Strathcona, we have a number of live music venues that have reached out to me because they just don't know how they're going to survive the coming months. If you could talk about that a little bit.
Oh, for sure. As I said, we made a survey among our members, and most of them fear that 2021 will be even worse than 2020 because we don't see the end of it. And in Quebec, everything is closed down till January the 11th. So we don't foresee any clear openness of the venues. Even if we come back, and we come back in the arenas, people, est-ce que les gens seront là? People will be there? We don't know yet. So for us, it means that we need to have access to some support for longer than shorter period of time. It's not a question of months, it's a question of years. And we hope that this will be understood very clearly by the government.
Mm-hmm.
If I could jump in here on this, I would like to just agree with everything that my colleague has said here from the industry. I do want to make the point that, and I think we've seen it in the past year, we saw garden centers open, but we were a long way from the Rogers Center being open. And we need support for that to continue for as long as regulations remain in place to stop these things from happening. Artists will continue to need support. Other than that, I completely agree with Madame Drouin.
Wonderful. Well, and maybe Mr. Rogers, I'll just ask you a couple of questions if you wouldn't mind. I'm a little bit interested in how this all rolled out when the pandemic was announced. Artists that already had shows in the pipe, that already had tours, what did they lose when that all shut down? I know, for example, that I had tickets to see Corb Lund in Ottawa in May. I was super excited, and of course that was canceled. So that was then delayed, and we had tickets for December, which of course has also now been canceled. As much as I would love to see Corb Lund live in Ottawa, when is the next time? What did they lose, and what were the impacts of those?
Yeah, I mean, the experience has been devastating. It's not the dollars speak for themselves. The issue of refunding tickets, the lost opportunity, but the real effect on careers as a whole has required an entirely different look. Within the industry, there's a model for, you work on your album, you record your album, you go on tour. All of this is now in flux. And so whether you are a major label artist or you're an artist just getting started, this entire situation has thrown the industry for a loop, and that is why we're here today. And it's why our members have asked us to put our focus on that experience.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Appreciate that. Again, my apologies, Ms. McPherson. My overlooking you is no reflection by any means on your contributions to this committee. Now, Mr. Aitchison, you're up for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm sorry too, Ms. McPherson. It was never my intention to go ahead of you. That would be inappropriate. I think I'm gonna focus a bit more on Mr. Rogers. I appreciate Mr. Mistakis. I come from an area where we have things like the Festival of the Sound and the Muskoka Huntsville Festival of the Arts. We're very familiar with those smaller, even smaller than your organization, smaller festivals, and have been chatting with them regularly about what they need. And so I really appreciate your comments, and I'm really intrigued by the incentive-based model of matching dollars. Mr. Rogers, I understand the music industry. Really not at all. And I think that you think about the music industry as, big names, artists that are, worth millions, especially when you hear the names like Sony and Universal Music. I think it'd be helpful for me particularly, and maybe others, to understand a little bit about who you represent. It's obviously not just the gazillionaire musicians that we all know and have heard of before.
Yeah, so thank you so much for your question. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that my family traces its roots to the heart of your riding, Port Sandfield. And
Huntsville's actually the heart. I don't want to interrupt
right,
you.
yes,
Sorry.
absolutely.
I'm from Huntsville, so that's the heart. I kid. Go ahead.
But Music Canada, we represent Sony, Warner, and Universal. And these are major labels with big operations here in Canada, full of Canadians making Canadian music at all levels of the industry. And the industry is one massive ecosystem that requires everyone, from the artist you haven't heard of today to the artist at the top of the charts. And we at Music Canada try to be passionate advocates for all musicians and those who help them do that. So you're right. The industry is very different. Madame Drouin has a very specific focus on Quebec, and it's an important role. We have our focus, But during this time of crisis, we have tried to place our resources, our time and our effort in ensuring that the artists that you haven't heard of yet have an ability to break out after the pandemic. And that's by making sure that they're supported. That's by making sure that they're still here. It's one of the reasons why our members and others in the industry have made commitments to the Unison Benevolent Fund, which I would strongly recommend the committee look into further. The Unison Benevolent Fund existed before the pandemic to help artists who found themselves on hard times. But obviously now, those hard times are wide-reaching. And we are strong supporters of that organization as well.
Can I quickly ask one more quick thing? I'm wondering about, in terms of recovery and startup, again, one of the reasons why I liked Mr. Mistakis' idea about the incentive fund. I have this perception that live music is going to be easier to get started than things like plays and musicals, those kind of productions, the scale of which, and maybe that's maybe that's completely incorrect. Could you just give me a quick answer on that too, please?
Absolutely. I mean, I would put everyone in that spot in the mass gathering bucket, right? Any industry that requires a large group of people to be in a smaller area is going to be challenged with the medical information that we have now. And so, my colleague Aaron Benjamin at the Canadian Live Music Association would probably have the best answers for exactly how quickly people can get together. But what you're going to face is both a understanding from the population and the medical situation, and that's going to be, that mix is what we're going to finally determine when people get on stages safely.
Mr. Mistakis, I'm just thinking that things like community theater take a little more to put together. I'm wondering about the difficulty of cost related to getting going again.
Well, I think there's going to be a new cost to recovery because we will have lost, I think, to other industries, some very talented, creative individuals. And so it will mean a new sense of training and coming up to speed, which is going to take a number of years, unfortunately. One thing I would like to add is that we talk about the higher end, the higher tier musicians who are or actors who are successful and financially successful. We have to remember that there are hundreds of thousands of others early in their careers, and their secondary industries have closed down as well. Musicians who can no longer teach, they're trying online, but it doesn't work as well. There are catering jobs and bartending jobs, and that's what it is to be an artist, unfortunately, in early career.
Thank you, Mr. Mistakis. I'm sorry, I have to hold you to that. I apologize. Madame Briere, I understand that you're splitting your time with Ms. de Bruzen. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Pour 2 minutes 30 seconds, s'il vous plaît.
2 minutes, 30 seconds. Thank you. My question for Madame Drouin. Good afternoon, and thanks for accepting our invitation. You've explained well the situation of the music sector. It's very much affected by COVID, and we are very sensitive and concerned about our artist situation, and we would like to be able to support them, just like we did with the $500 million emergency fund for the sports and culture and heritage. So we had phase 1 and there was funding, but for phase 2 it was more open and everybody could put in an application. My question, I met with the Conseil de la Culture in the Eastern Townships, and I was told there was a real drop in qualified trades. And with the production of musical shows, a number of technicians and experts have moved to Montreal from the Eastern Townships and, in fact, started entirely different careers. Could you tell us about workforce scarcity out in the regions? That is a real concern. Is it going to be a problem? Difficult to quantify it now because there's no activity. But yes, those businesses and all those that we surveyed in these last months have told us clearly musicians are affected, singers and interpreters, but there's the technicians, all of the creators, everything it takes to put a show together. It's not just the performer at the microphone that counts. It's everybody. So we expect there will be people no longer available, and we need those people for the show to go on. It could be that people have switched careers. We've experienced that already in the audiovisual sector, which is more opened up at present, for example, for television or movie theaters. There's more opening there. So we've seen people switch careers. And of course, it would be catastrophic because you have a fabric of workforce that we cannot afford to lose. Thank you. Ms. de Brusen?
Merci, Madame Brière. Thank you for sharing your time. So as part of the 500 million in emergency funding, almost 40% of that money, in fact, went to non-existing recipients, including what I thought was really special in my community when I saw it was support for live venues and the infrastructure that Madame Drouin was talking about, the promoters, all of the people who worked on that side. Focusing on the wider picture infrastructure question, my question is, how important do you think it is to quickly reform the ecosystem of broadcasting or copyright, the broader piece, to be able to do the recovery properly?
Is the question targeted? Yeah, to me. Okay, sure. I guess it's an urgency. I hope that I will be in front of you next week to discuss the C10 bill. I guess it's something that we've been waiting for, I would say, because I've been at this for 28 years. So I've seen a lot. And we've been waiting for this bill to be a reality since I would say 1999, since the bad decision from the CRTC to exempt the new media order at that time. It was called that way. So I guess it's an urgent matter because finally we'll get some money from the online services who use our music, and it is essential that they promote it and they contribute to the financing of this. So I guess it's very important. And that's the same with the Copyright Act. It's very important that we deal with that very urgently just after the Broadcasting Act.
Parliamentary Secretary, I would just add to that when we've previously talked about the Copyright Act, we've tried to make clear how important the functioning framework of it is in case anything were to happen to a particular artist, that they would continue to get paid when their music is played. Now it's happened to all artists, and their ability to tour has been eliminated, and the need to make sure that that principle is upheld is now as clear to us as it is ever.
Okay, folks, I have to hold it to that. That has to be the final word for this panel. I thank you all for your contributions. That was a great conversation as it unfolded over Zoom. I'd like to thank our witnesses coming today. Madame Drouin, thank you very much. From Drayton Entertainment, Alex Moustakis, Artistic Director, thank you so much. And Patrick Rogers says here, Vice President, you said co-CEO. I'm assuming that congratulations on your promotion?
Interim co-CEO, but thank you so much.
All right. All right. Well, thank you much. Thank you very much, all. And we'll just suspend for a few minutes for technical reasons. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde. Soyez les bienvenus à la deuxième partie de notre comité. Je vais passer tout de suite à la présentation de nos témoins. Il s'agit de Yvan Noé Giroir, directeur général de l'Association des médias écrits communautaires du Québec. Nous avons également parmi nous Médias d'Info Canada, John Hines, président et chef de la direction, et deux invités du Rosebud Center of the Arts, Paul Muir, directeur de l'éducation, et Bob Davis, gouverneur du conseil bénévole et directeur général de Old Trout Puppet Workshop. J'adore ce nom. Alors, nous allons commencer par 5 minutes de la part de chaque groupe. Nous allons commencer donc par l'Association des médias écrits communautaires du Québec avec M. Giroir pour un moment, s'il vous plaît. Quelqu'un avait un rappel au règlement?
Yes, sir. I'm having trouble. The translation is reversed. I'm set on English, and I cannot hear your English, and I've only started taking French a few months ago. So maybe we could check the translation to see if the right channels are set.
Okay. I'm not sure technically how that works. Nevertheless,
actually, that's better already. It's fixed.
It's better already? I'd love to say you're welcome, but the incredibly talented, smart people behind me made it happen in a nanosecond. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's begin. Monsieur Girard, pour 5 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
Giroir.
L'occasion de m'exprimer concernant les lacunes de certains programmes d'aide fédéraux s'adressant aux médias communautaires. D'abord, je voudrais présenter l'Association des médias écrits communautaires du Québec.
Point of order. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, I understand. Yes, we're trying. We just got notice of that now.
Sorry.
Just so that we can. Bonjour.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
Okay, let's start again.
Le-
Pardon-moi, Monsieur.
We apologize to you, Mr. Giroir. 5 minutes. I will continue. So, AMEC, our association, was founded in 1980, and it represents 80 community newspapers and magazines, all of them not-for-profit, and they're administered by volunteer boards of directors. And these newspapers and magazines take responsibility for local news for the population, and the work is done largely by volunteers. And I want to make it clear that the word community does not have the same meaning in English as it has in French. In English, community newspaper means newspaper serving the community. They're usually privately owned newspapers. There's no distinction between private newspapers and not-for-profit newspapers. In French, the term community means they are not-for-profit entities, and this gives rise to confusion when presenting assistant programs for media. So I wanted to particularly address 4 points: the local journalism initiative, the program to support minority official languages community media, the tax credit for media, and government advertisement in community print media. So much as the local journalism initiative is laudable, at a first glance, the initiative, which has been put forward by Heritage Canada and administered by Media Info Canada, is simply inappropriate for community print media in Quebec. Our association, AMEC, deplores the fact that this program is in no way meant for its members' magazines and newspapers. Media Info Canada promotes the local journalism initiative as follows. Communities where citizens do not have access to news about community issues and institutions by way of local newspapers or radio or other media. And so this gap in media coverage means that citizens do not get sufficient information in terms of news, issues, and events that affect them personally in their day-to-day lives. And AMEC especially deplores the fact that this program is only applies for situations where there is a lapse information or poverty of information. All of our members are therefore not eligible for this program. The Local Journalism Initiative is supposed to offer funding to news media to hire journalists to cover civic journalism that covers needs in undeserved communities. The initiative is to foster original civic journalism that meets the diverse needs of underserved communities across Canada. In other words, the media organization that applies needs to describe in what way the region it wants to cover constitutes, a deprivation of news, and explain why their publication is well suited to fill the gap. AMEC asks that the program be revised so that community print media in Quebec have access to the program and that terms such as underserved communities, news deserts, or areas of news poverty be eliminated. And I draw your attention to an email address to one of our members which stated, as this is someone whose application was refused. We have issued a new call in Quebec. We are making the initiative known as broadly as possible, which is why you received our circular. And if you want to reapply, it would be my pleasure to present it. But just like you, I acknowledge that I don't see that the final outcome will be any different than the first time round. AMEC deplores that the relaunch to participation in the program was sent out on the evening of January 24, 2020, with a deadline of January 27th. Was this an invitation just sent out to clear your conscience? If Media Info Canada wanted our members not to participate, you could not have done it better. Now, a word about the program to support minority official languages community media. This also is a very laudable program, but no way accessible for our newspapers or magazines. Even if they publish in French in a province where the official language is French, these media need financial assistance from the federal government. Now, a word about the tax credit for media. Last April 17, the Minister of Finance announced measures to support Canadian news sectors during the pandemic. These were tax credits for the Canadian journalistic workforce, reimbursable at 25%. There, too, a laudable initiative, but difficult to apply for community print media. To be entitled to the tax credit, an entity needs to employ at least 2 journalists working an average of at least 26 hours per week for at least 40 consecutive weeks, and dedicate at least 75% of their time to producing news content. Here's the problem. Most community papers wanting to avail themselves of the tax credits, they have one employee to do everything from gathering news, photography, edition, writing, coordination. Thank you very much, Mr. Giroir.
Pour le prochain,
Now for our next.
Hines, President and Chief Executive Officer. Mr. Hines. Sorry, sir, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. My name is John Hines, and I'm the CEO of News Media Canada. We are the voice of Canada's news media industry and represent over 600 newspapers and news media publications in all provinces and territories. Our membership includes daily, weekly, and community newspapers, news sites, and ranges from the largest urban daily to small community newspapers in rural and remote regions. The news media sector in Canada continues to experience challenges, which have only been exacerbated by the pandemic. Over the past few years, 250 plus newspapers have closed. In Saskatchewan alone, we have lost over 20% of our newspapers. That was before the pandemic. In the initial months of COVID, we saw another round of closures and mergers, and many small newspapers stopped publishing, while larger publications saw newsrooms layoffs. As a result, there are now more areas of news poverty and news deserts in the country. Our greatest industry challenge is declining advertising revenue, particularly print advertising, with declines of up to 20% a year. In many ways, COVID simply sped up that trend. At the beginning of the crisis, advertising plunged by up to 75% in many markets, and the industry is still struggling with advertising decline in the range of 30%. Sectors like events, travel, and local retail are just not advertising, which has dramatically impacted small community newspapers that rely on print advertising. What is particularly frustrating is that the impact of COVID on our industry defies the rules of economics. There has never been more demand for our products, while at the same time there is so little revenue. Millions of Canadians, 9 out of 10, continue to engage with their local news media for trusted news and information about COVID in their communities. For many newspapers, particularly community newspapers, government advertising was traditionally a major client. Federal government advertising has fallen to almost nothing in the last few years. This defies logic, given that our products are read by more Canadians than the digital giants. At the beginning of the pandemic, the government announced a $30 million communications budget, but unlike many provincial governments, there was limited placement in our news media. The government can deliver on its mandate to communicate with Canadians by implementing a strategy of placing ads where Canadians are looking for trusted content and advertising. Having said that, I want to acknowledge and thank you for the support provided to assist our industry. I also want to acknowledge the impressive team of officials at Canadian Heritage who understand the issues and are working tirelessly to find solutions. I want to highlight 2 areas that allowed the industry to continue to operate during the pandemic. The wage subsidy was and continues to be a lifeline for most publications and has allowed most to continue to publish and avoid laying off staff. We believe this program needs to be maintained until revenue rebounds. The aid to publishers program has also been a lifeline. This program, which dates from before Confederation, has traditionally been available to small, subscription-based print community newspapers, and as part of the COVID relief plan, funding was increased by 25%, which again allowed many papers to continue to publish. One-time funding was also provided to non-subscription newspapers, and we would ask that this be continued for at least 2021, given the market conditions. Ideally, this funding would be permanent and increased as smaller community newspapers are increasingly challenged in the digital world. The future of news media is digital, and all our members are looking to a digital future, though that future differs from publisher to publisher. However, without government action to regulate the digital space, the future is grim. 2 global monopolies, Google and Facebook, control 80% of the digital ad revenue in Canada, and that continues to grow every year. Real news costs real money to report, but monopolies are cutting newspaper off from the sources of revenue to pay for it. Their business models are based on using news media content that they do not pay for. Governments and other democracies are fighting back, and we are pleased that the commitment to regulate the monopolies was included in the speech from the throne. We believe that the approach that is being undertaken in Australia is the perfect solution in Canada. It allows newspapers to negotiate fair compensation with monopolies, it levels the playing field, and does so without relying on government funding, new taxes, or user fees. We hope that all our members support. We know that all our members support this initiative, and we hope that you would move quickly on this file. Thank you. Merci.
And thank you. So now we go to the Rosebud Center of the Arts. Now we have 2 people. We have up to 5 minutes. And who will be speaking on behalf of the group? Mr. Davis, please proceed. Up to 5 minutes, please. You're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, committee members, for the invitation to attend, specifically Mr. Shields, who invited us here today. We're happy to be here. And Rosebud Center of the Arts is located in a small hamlet, just 92 people, northeast of Calgary on the way to Drumheller. It's home to Rosebud School of the Arts, a post-secondary arts training institution, and Rosebud Theatre, a professional live theater. We have additional dining services for patrons who attend our theater performances to enjoy a meal before attending the show. Our scope of operations in a typical year is around $3.5 million. And of that $3.5 million, roughly $2.5 million would come from theater revenue through ticket sales and dining services. Our professional productions range from March to December. We have as many as 5 in a year, along with 2 student productions, and we attract up to 35,000, sometimes 40,000 people to a hamlet of 100 people, predominantly from Alberta, the Calgary area, but from all regions of Alberta do travel to our community, where we also have accommodations, gift shops, a museum, and galleries and artists resident in our town. We have a staff of about 20 people, but we employ up to 150 people part-time, again, predominantly residents from the region. We're the largest employer in Rosebud and one of the largest in Wheatland County. We're a socioeconomic driver in the area. The work we do generates business for businesses and employers around us. We're part of the provincial arts and education tourism fabric, partnering with Travel Alberta, other post-secondary institutions, and other arts organizations in Alberta. Uniquely, we're a guild school. We follow a mentorship and apprentice educational model, which is unique in Canada, and we receive no provincial funding for our education, and our public funding for the arts is less than 2% on an annual basis. With this in mind, COVID, like I'm sure you've heard from many arts organizations, really hit hard. Our theater operations were closed entirely in 2020. We've attempted to run another show here for Christmas, but just today, that show too was suspended due to COVID conditions in Alberta. And so we're experiencing an over $2 million loss in revenue from ticket sales. More specifically, we're experiencing over 30,000 patrons not coming to our community. So that means the accommodations, the retail sector, and all the employment that goes along with the work that we do has a ripple effect outwards to the other businesses and entrepreneurs in our region. We are thankful for the CHPC program, which did support our operations to a degree this year, and I'll have more to say about that in a moment. But by and large, we have been unable to access the emergency funding or regular funding through Canada Council or through Canadian Heritage that's been made available. Particularly, one of the biggest challenges for arts organizations is the administrative needs to manage through COVID. Certainly on the art side, there's been less work for artists, but on the administration side, there's been an order of magnitude more of work to do for budgeting, human resources, and dealing with communications and stakeholders. One of the gaps in the federal aid programs is that unless you are already registered with Canada Council and recognized, you do not have access to the emergency funding provided by Canadian Heritage. And the CHPC program is insufficient to support arts organizations when there is no corresponding revenue to come in to help offset costs. And we look forward to discussing more of these issues with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
And thank you, Mr. Davis. Okay, we're going to proceed now with the questions. Now, folks, I'm going to be a little bit more strict on this because of the time we lost at the top. So let's get started with Mr. Waugh for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our guest today, Mr. Hines. Good to see you again. The government announced $30 million spread out over newspapers, I think. Newspapers, radio, and television. How much did the newspapers get out of that $30 million that the government claimed that they sent out?
I don't have a direct number on it. I think it was in the neighborhood of $2 to $3 million. It really, for most newspapers, it was 1 or 2 ads in the course of the campaign.
Yes. Was that enough? Obviously.
I don't know. I don't think it was enough, obviously, because I think part of it was it enough to communicate effectively? I'm not sure. And, when we look at what a number of the provinces did, and I think here Ontario and Quebec, I would say, they had formal campaigns where every week or every day they ran ads in the newspapers to provide information to readers and citizens about the pandemic. and I think it was very effective and obviously was very helpful to the newspaper. People were looking on the sites and in the paper for information about COVID, and they were looking for their local newspaper.
The criticism I've received in our offices is you get one or two ads in the big dailies, and then the weeklies are left out, or the community newspapers. Is that the truth?
No, I think in this campaign there were ads they did run ads across the country. One of the things we always hear is that community newspapers are difficult to buy, and it's complicated, and people don't like doing it, and that. But I think the government pays a lot of money to agencies to do that, and they should do it. I think in this campaign, the support was pretty much across both communities and dailies and digital and print.
On your website, you state how national newspapers are filling the COVID-19 induced ad void. How are you?
Well, we're filling it with information. I think that's the issue. We've been operating without the ad revenue, so we're filling it with information. During the campaign, one of the things we tried to do is work on a system of programmatic ad network to compete with Google and Facebook, and we set that up, and we're running it, and we're hoping that the federal government will work with us on that, because it's a way of buying equivalent numbers or views across Canada on the programmatic advertising in the programmatic advertising market with using Canadian sites.
You are filling it, and you're not. I look at the papers every day across this country. Those that had 24 pages are down now to 16 pages a day. I look at the Regina Leader Post and the Saskatoon Star Phoenix that have pulled Monday home delivery. Many people still don't have the digital at home, and yet they're paying still for Monday home delivery. That's not coming. And I think as the consumers look, they're saying this isn't fair. I'm paying, in my case, $31 or $33 a month for the Saskatoon Star Phoenix to be home delivered to my address Monday through Saturday, and yet Monday's paper doesn't show up. And I think that's an issue for consumers. They feel jaded on this. Nobody has stood up on their behalf, and yet National Post Coast to Coast has made this decision where the consumers now are feeling jaded from the weekend news. They don't even get their information now until Tuesday in the newspapers. I'd like you to comment on that.
Well, I think it's difficult. I mean,
Je crois que c'est difficile, comme je l'ai déjà,
quality news, and what we're finding is that Monday, nobody wants to put an ad in a newspaper on Monday. It's been traditionally the lowest readership day, and of distribution on Monday just simply don't work. And the alternative, and the challenge that newspapers face is if they aren't working, where do they cut? And I think everybody's been trying really hard not to cut newsroom jobs, and so the distribution costs have been so distributing across on Monday is one of the ways to save money, but not cut newsroom jobs. I think we all understand that it's probably not the optimum for the consumer, but that is unfortunately what current climate dictates.
Mr. Gerard, if I can go to you and AMAC, local journalism, it's really hard in this country. I don't have to tell you, to have one person in the newsroom today could be the norm. How are you doing this? I mean, home delivery is even in question now. People are nervous with COVID to even pick up a newspaper off the shelves. So how is your association, AMAC in Quebec, dealing with COVID right now? We seem to have lost him. I don't see him on my screen here. Is that the case, Clerk?
Yeah, and
my time's up anyways.
Yeah, your time is up anyway right now. I apologize for that. So maybe I can find time. Okay, he is there. Nevertheless, I'll have to come back to you, Mr. Wall. We're pretty tight
No,
on time.
that's fine.
Yeah, I want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm
Mr.
fine.
Girard,
Take your time.
if you could hear us, could you please just wave your hand?
Oui,
Okay.
oui, c'est beau.
Okay. We're just checking to see if you're still there. So I apologize that we have to go to the next questioner, Mr. Housefather, for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all of the witnesses, Mr. Davis and Mr. Muir. The last panel that we had, one of the theaters from my own riding, the Siegel Center, was there, and I asked all my questions to them. So forgive me if I don't ask you questions, but I did hear that your production of Anne Frank a few years ago was phenomenal. Like my cousin went to it and had rave reviews. Thumbs up to that, and I'm sure I'll be speaking to you at a later date. I'm going to go to Mr. Hines. Mr. Hines, I was glad to hear that the support from the federal government, at least with respect to the aid to publishers and with respect to the shoes, was very helpful to your organization. But I, like many people, actually prefer print media to digital, and I want to make sure our newspapers not only survive but thrive. I'm a little dismayed to hear of the small percentage of ads that actually went to newspapers. Did you get a better number of ads that came from provincial and municipal governments during the course of COVID, or were they also mostly going toward digital?
No, I think what we found again, different provinces have different, but I think when you look at, again, Ontario and Quebec were really really stepped up in terms of print advertising and consistent, effective campaigns. So I would say that certainly in Ontario and Quebec, the government put daily in the dailies and weekly in the weekly. So, and very much with an emphasis on print.
Thank you. Et Monsieur Giroir, est-ce que je peux vous...
Mr. Giroir, can I ask you about the Government of Canada advertising and Government of Quebec advertising? Did it go to entities you represent? It started to come in. I saw some for the first time in December, but until recently there were none. The federal government placed to date some $35,000 in advertising for our publications. It's really very little. I'd like to understand a little better. You started by talking about the different programs. Your members were not eligible. I have a local newspaper. It's entirely voluntary newspaper. Is that the kind of organization you represent? Yes, absolutely. My understanding is you talked about a program that's very important for me. It is the one to support the minority official languages publications. In my riding, they are largely community. And you're telling us there is a real shortcoming. So volunteer newspapers like the ones you talk about are not eligible. But in the throne speech, there was mention of the importance of French in Quebec. So yes, I think there is a shortcoming, and one of the way we could support Francophone newspapers in Quebec is perhaps not through the minority language programs, but one especially targeting community newspapers in Quebec. Would that help your members? Yes, absolutely. That's what we would like. I'm sorry, I'm hearing a lot of echo. Now, 5% of national advertising is earmarked for official language publications for minorities, but we don't get that. We understand, and I do believe that is something that needs to be discussed with Heritage Canada, because it would help to support media such as the media you represent, and I've taken note of that. You did not end your remarks because you exceeded your 5 minutes. Is there anything very important you were unable to say at that time? Yes. The tax credit. It's just not accessible for our members because we have to call Mr. Chair. Order. Mr. Shampoo. Out of respect for the witnesses, I think that we should state that there is a problem on the French channel. I don't know if it's a technical glitch. We're hearing a lot of echo. I don't know if our team could try to help us out here. It's very difficult for us to follow the conversation on the French channel. Mr. Giroir's testimony really needs to be heard. I'm going to turn off. Can you hear me better now? Asks Mr. Giroir.
The issue, Mr. Giroir. We may have a problem with the echoing that's taking place under the French interpretation, as Mr. Shampoo points out. I'm going to stop for about 2 minutes, and I'm going to try to stick to that 2 minutes as much as I can, just to see check out the situation that we have. And Monsieur Shampoo, thank you for bringing that to my attention. So just 2 minutes, folks, and we'll just pause. Session. Sorry for the formalities, Monsieur Girard, but we're out of. We have to record this in our Hansard, so everything has to be recorded. And anything as we commence now, we can talk about the fact that we have Mr. Housefather, who has, I think, a bit. You have 1 minute left if you want to continue your questioning, Mr. Housefather, and let's hope we've cleared this up.
I will allow Mr. Giroir to finish what he was saying regarding the tax credit. Mr. Giroir, you have the floor. Yes, concerning the tax credit, you need to have 2 journalists to be eligible. With community print media, it's impossible to have 2 journalists. Newspapers are put out by volunteers. those few that have an employee, that employee will do about everything: photographer, journalist, editor, director general in some cases. So we would like the legislation to change, go from, 2 journalists to 1 journalist, for instance. I understand. I don't have further time, so I'll give the floor to Mr. Champoux to continue.
Pour 6 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
Mr. Champoux, 6 minutes. Thank you. Thank you to our witnesses for their availability. Thanks for being here with us. I have a question for Mr. Hines, who represents news media. Your organization states that the Australian model should apply when we talk about the royalties that be imposed to the web. But of course, there are different markets between Australia and the Canadian that would make it difficult to use that model. We could be inspired by it, but please tell us, what do you see that is so good about that model, and what do you see that might be applied here to benefit the industry?
Yes, and I think, obviously, while Australia is a country of similar media landscape and similar political landscape to Canada, it would have to, any model would have to be adjusted to local context. What we like about the Australian model is its simplicity. It is not, one of the things that we don't want to do is get into a situation where government is taxing and allocating stuff to media, because we've heard from a number of people, particularly a number of deputies, that that's not a way that we'd like to go. So this really what it allows the industry and the digital monopolies to negotiate fair terms for compensation. And I think that's the thing about the Australian model that is appealing. The other thing that's appealing about the Australian model is, unlike the French model, which only deals with the compensation for the journalism content, the Australian model has a code of conduct. And we've also seen in the last couple of days the British government putting forward this idea of a code of conduct. So the code of conduct regulates the ad side of it. So, when Google and Facebook want to change their algorithms, they have to give 30 days notice. They can't boot things off and change things. So I think what we like about the Australian model is its ability. It doesn't raise taxes. It doesn't deal with government sort of intervening in the marketplace, but it allows a fair market interaction between the platforms and newspapers.
Thank you. Is it not your impression that you'd be inviting each organization or business to have to make agreements with these giants? And wouldn't that cause an imbalance given the weight that each of these organizations might have when they go to the negotiating table? Couldn't it result in inequities in the marketplace?
Yes, it could. I think one of the things, again, that the Australian model provides, and one of the things that we're looking for in any model, is the ability to negotiate collectively. Currently, as an industry, we're not allowed to negotiate because of competition rules. We can't negotiate fees with the digital players. So what we would be looking for is the ability to negotiate as an industry for fair compensation. I think that is only fair to everybody, because I think we're seeing now that even right now some of the digital players are offering licenses, but they're only offering licenses to the big players. And I think what we want to make sure is that the same terms and conditions apply to a big daily newspaper as apply to a small community newspaper, and so that we're fair across the country and we're fair within the industry.
Thank you. You talked about advertising, and I think Mr. Giroir might also have his opinion on it. But Mr. Hines, I would like to talk about federal government advertising. They bragged about the $30 million invested in media all across the country, that this was going to be a big hand up, and especially for regional media, but it was obviously insufficient. The other issue that was raised, and we saw this last year with the figures that came out, that the government invested a lot in digital, but through the media big pliers, so there was hardly anything left for regional media. And we've learned that just about nothing has changed this year. What would your message be? What would you like to convey to the government about digital advertising in regional media?
Well, I think the thing is, in digital media, we're very interested in this, and I think the one thing we have to be clear is that for many of our members, digital is not relevant. I mean, they are essentially print publications, and the way you're going to communicate with those communities is through print publications. On digital, we have worked very hard to, as an industry, we put forward the Maple Network Exchange, which is our digital players, our digital companies, who are looking to work with the government directly so that any digital money that is flowing from the government of Canada to our audiences flows directly. Because as I said earlier, we reach as many people as the digital duopoly if we're used properly, and we believe we have an option there that would allow federal government digital advertising to reach Canadians through Canadian channels and showing up on Canadian news websites, which is where people want to see it.
Monsieur Giroir.
Mr. Giroir, just in a few seconds, what be a better way to place digital advertising that can make a difference for your members? Are you talking to me? Yes, I am. We're starting to see digital. The print newspapers have websites, and you're starting to see more digital. And CPS, our advertising agency, is starting to place digital advertising. We're just at the beginning, but it's going well. Last year, federal government advertising was some $2,300 for our 62 newspapers represented by the agency. So this year, $35,000. And I've seen in recent weeks that there are some complete pages appearing in our media. So there seems to be a little bit of a change, but that change needs to continue well beyond the pandemic, because this is advertising that is related to COVID-19. It's all about safety measures. Very temporary. Thank you, Mr. Giroir. Sorry about the echo, says Mr. Giroir.
For 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for recognizing me today. I would like to thank all of our witnesses for joining us today. It's nice to see some of the folks that I've had an opportunity to talk to in recent days. I think it would be useful for me to start with my co-Albertans, I guess. So I do have a few questions, if I could, for Mr. Moore and Mr. Davis as well. You talked a lot about the impact that COVID-19 has had on your organization, on the Rosebud Center of the Arts. You talked about the deep loss of revenue because you have not been able to access the theater revenues. What does the future look like for your organization? In what ways have you been able to pivot during COVID? But what does it look like going forward? And what are some very concrete actions you'd like to see the government of Canada take?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we've done when we had to cancel the entire 2020 season, which Bob referenced earlier, as throughout the summer and the fall, as those restrictions, the COVID restrictions lifted a little bit, we did put on a different show, not one that was scheduled, but a one-actor version of A Christmas Carol, which was super exciting. But of course, within COVID, we knew that we could only serve about 20% of the audience that we would normally be able to serve. So of course, what we did is we also created a film version of that play, and it's now available on the internet for people to watch. But your question, in P. McPherson, in terms of moving forward, as Bob indicated, our organization, our operating has reduced by over 2/3. And so when we look ahead to continued COVID restrictions through 2021, it's still quite bleak. Here's an interesting thing, though, that that I just find fascinating. Our student intake has increased. So to me, that's hopeful, because that says that there's a group of young people out there who are actually still interested in training to become storytellers and become theater professionals, while at the same time, theater itself is almost not present. And in terms of what the government might be able to support, we've run into a number of roadblocks where, because we are a unique organization where theater, but we're also an educational institution, but not recognized under the Post-Secondary Education Act, et cetera, we find ourselves in a unique place. We hit a roadblock within the post-secondary funding world, and we hit roadblocks within the professional theater training world. So this is one of the things that, as Bob was mentioning earlier, where the CUE support, while we have been super grateful for the CUE support, while at the same time, it hasn't been enough. And of course, the reduction of CUEs is coming at a time when we are still unable to restart our main revenue generator, which is ticket sales.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to add to that, Bob?
Yes. There's restaurants, businesses, retailers, they can generate revenue. So as CUEs is reduced, there's revenue being generated by entrepreneurs in their businesses. In theater, there's no revenue generated. So CUEs is being reduced, and therefore even more pressure is put upon the organizations because there's zero revenue coming in the arts world when we're not able to present. And one other little factor about the roadblocks is Rosebud's been very proud of the fact that it has not relied on government support for many, many years. Less than 2% of our funding comes from government, which is rare in the arts world, 2%. But when a time comes for us to seek a request or make a request for emergency funding, we are told, because we have not received funding in the past, we are not eligible for funding going forward.
So you're in fact being penalized for that.
Yes, we're being penalized for not being reliant on government funding.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible roadblock to face because it's an emergency.
And I can see how that would be very frustrating. And I certainly, you probably know, but for Edmonton, Strathcona, the riding I represent, it's a massive theater community, and it created a theater district in our area that restaurants and shops depend upon. So I absolutely hear your concerns and the need for flexibility and the need for the theater to be recognized as a different sort of supports that we need for that. My next question is, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I know I don't have very much time, but I'd also like to ask Mr. Hines, one of the worries that I have with these small newspapers being at risk and shutting down in regions, smaller areas, is the lack of training or the lack of capacity to build our journalist expertise. So could you talk a little bit about some of the impacts you see from that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the challenges we see is the attractiveness of the profession going into it. I mean, if you talk to the J schools around the country, it's not one of the high priorities for really high achieving students. The reality is it is hard to break in. Though what was interesting is, as you know, we are one of the administrators for the Local Journalism Initiative program. And when we had a meeting recently with the other administrators, one of the common themes was the difficulty in trying to find journalists in rural and remote areas to fill those positions under the Local Journalism Initiative. So I think there is a role, and what we don't see anywhere is any role in journalism development or media training funded by government. And unlike the U.S., where there are a number of where foundations have stepped in and done quite a bit of this, we just don't have the access to that in the Canadian marketplace.
Thank you very much, and I'm quite certain I'm done my time.
I'm feeling particularly generous in your direction, Ms. McPherson, considering what happened in the last session. But great job, thank you. Now go to Mr. Shields for 6 minutes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. thank you for all of the witnesses being here today. Just one comment for Mr. Hines before I go to Rosebud. The amount of taxpayers' money in Canada going to Google, as you mentioned, and the non-return is a huge issue. I have many weekly newspapers in my riding who have suffered greatly from lack of print advertising, and they suggest if the federal government would put taxpayers' money into print advertising instead of giving it to the big Googles and Facebook out there, they would survive. Going to Rosebud, I really appreciate you being on today. As you say, you're in a small community, but you attract tens of thousands of people from the surrounding area. And as you have said, the possibilities of receiving funding is not something you've looked for in the past, but an emergency situation. So as you are now millions of dollars short, and you've got students who want to be in this profession that are attracted to what you represent in that community, suggestions you might have for getting out of this conundrum, this emergency we're in. What suggestions would you might have for us to look at going forward?
Yes, well, first suggestion is to reevaluate the CEWS relationship to organizations that do not have income. So again, we're not able to generate any income and offset the reduction of CEWS. So for the arts, particularly, if CEWS could be maintained at the level it was this year, that would be one positive step. A second one would be to re-examine the Canada Council evaluation of applicants who may not have a track record, to be able to open the door for allowance for new applicants to programs within Canada Council programs, because at this point, that's a roadblock which we can't get past. Third option is to look at, there's other programs within Heritage, the Building Communities Through Arts and Heritage Festival programming. Once again, potential opportunities, but I will say the length of time that is required to go from the application deadline to the decision has now reached 6 months and is reaching 8 months. Organizations do not have 8 months or even 6 months to wait for adjudication of applications. It would be really helpful if those could be 60 days or a maximum 90 days from the time of application to the time of decision. Even knowing a negative decision is more helpful than waiting 120 or 180 days for a decision on programs. So speed things up, open the doors, and maintain CEWS would be three directions we'd suggest, Mr. Shields.
Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things that has come up is the mental health of people who are involved in the business, the actors, the participants. Are you seeing any of that challenge in a sense with those people who are in the performances, the actors, the performers, the musicians?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this the COVID crisis caused us to cancel. It was in excess of $100,000 worth of guest artist contracts here at Rosebud, and that's just our little theater company. Now extrapolate that, you know, to all of the professional theater companies, not only in this riding but across the province, across the country, and it's millions of dollars of lost revenue for those artists. Certainly, with the colleagues that I'm in touch with, the mental health side of this is critically important. I know a lot of people who really are struggling, but of course, don't forget that they are artists, and artists find a way to be creative, often in the worst situations. During the Great Depression, it was so often the artists who thrived, not financially, but thrived in terms of finding their voice and making an impact. And certainly, I'm finding that lots of our graduates who are out there working professionally in the industry, they are finding their way. Again, not financially, but they are finding their way to make their impact and still be storytellers.
Thank you. The students that you talked about in the school, would you talk? Lost you there somewhere.
Oh.
Okay.
You're good. Very quickly.
Just the positivity of your school and the community.
Oh, the impact of the positive impact of Rosebud School of the Arts in this community is huge. To have 25 to 30 young people studying arts in this community is the lifeblood of this community.
Okay,
the day-to-day life.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Sorry about that. Madame Bissette, now, according to the clock, you could be the last person. However, because of the technical difficulties that we have, I'm going to take it upon myself to stretch a little bit. So here's what I'd like to do. Madame Bissette, I'll give you your 5 minutes. However, after that, I'm going to ask Ms. McPherson and Mr. Champoux if they would like to have quick questions, maybe for clarification or anything that you'd like to get in there, just to clue up. I'm not going to give you a set amount of time. I'm just going to allow you a couple questions because otherwise it would go long. If I can get the blessing of the committee to do that. I know I'm going beyond the scope here of what I normally do, but I just wanted to get that in given the technical difficulties that we have. So, okay, Madame Bissette, 5 minutes, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you very much, Chair. My questions are for Mr. Giroir. I know that the MECQ has been fighting for a long time to protect local media, and in my region, it's crucial for our SMEs and local businesses. Can you tell us a bit more about advertising in community media in terms of local investment? I'm hearing you with much echo, Ms. Bissette. Now, regarding the importance of local advertising, in the beginning of the pandemic, during March and April, all of the businesses closed in Quebec. And if there had not been any government advertising from Quebec, the newspapers would have had to close their doors because everything shut down in the municipalities. Local buying and support for local businesses is extremely important. We even saw local businesses who were, out there on Facebook, but they were shooting themselves in the foot. Community newspapers give a lot of support to local businesses. Thank you. Could you hear that? Are you hearing me well? Mr. Giroir? Yes. Perfect. My next question. Our seniors were very much affected by this pandemic, especially because of confinement. Can you talk about the role played by the local print media to help seniors at all times, but especially during this crisis? Well, we know that local community newspapers are very much read by seniors. Why? Because they do not have access to internet. So community newspapers provide them with local news. The community press really talks about what is happening locally. And seniors can relate to what's happening and unfolding in their local community and who the news talks about. Thank you. Last thing, Mr. Giroir, what measures do you think are needed in the future to support community media, especially that in the regions? What kind of measures? From whom? What measures do you think are necessary in the future to lend support to community print media, especially in the regions? Well, we need a program dedicated to small papers in small municipalities. It shouldn't be limited to minority languages or news deserts and so forth. The support needs to help all small municipalities. Thank you very much. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, folks, just to end off, I offered the from Monsieur Champoux as well as Ms. McPherson. I just need a show of your hand if you wish to ask a question. Monsieur Champoux?
I'm fine without asking a question.
Okay,
Chair.
great. Monsieur Champoux?
Pareillement pour moi.
Same for me. I much appreciated our discussions. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I apologize again for a few technical difficulties. Nevertheless, I want to thank our witnesses, Monsieur Jouard from Association des médias écrits communautaires du Québec, also John Hines, News Media Canada, and both Paul Muir and Bob Davis from Rosebud Centre of the Arts. That brings us to a conclusion. We will see everyone again on the same subject on this coming Monday. Thank you very much. Adjourned.